Time makes the heart grow fonder, or something to that effect, and it's been 11 years since the first Halo game launched on the original Xbox. In honor of Halo 4, we decided to take off our time beer goggles.
We're gonna make it, aren't we, sir? I don't want to die out here.
And see just what Master Chief and his Halo outings really look like over the years. A couple of notes, for the sake of time, we'll be mainlining Halo 1 through 4, bypassing ODST Reach and Halo Wars, whatever that was about. The footage of Halo Combat Evolved comes from the classic view of the Anniversary Edition. So let's get going. Back in 2001, Microsoft unleashed the Green Man into our lives. Master Chief was a stiff fellow in his Mark V suit with a pretty bad case of block fingers that can be seen here in this cutscene. Chief's visor pretty much looked like the amber they pulled that mosquito out of in Jurassic Park. And his under armor reminiscent of a black leotard. If you played Halo when it first came out, it probably looked like this. It's called 4x3. Yes, I know, it's frightening. Lighting was pretty basic on the old Xbox, and the textures were equally basic, such as Chief's chest here, which didn't even pretend to change with ambient lighting. One nifty effect Bungie did pull off was an overall shininess to Chief's armor, done by rendering with a mild specular shader. The specular shading was also let loose on structures, rocks, and other non-organic surfaces, and responded to weapon fire, as can be seen here in this shot with a Needler. In terms of HUD, Halo went for the traditional approach at the time, with floating ammo, shield health, and radar indicators, but no indication that Chief was wearing a face mask. Oh yeah, and that health bar, it kept going down until you ate these crazy snacks with red pluses on them. I found one of those plus stations in the office, but everything inside just tasted like Band-Aids. What was that all about? Cortana also appeared right away in the Halo series, and Bungie put a lot more effort into rounding the edges of her more organic model. I wonder why. She sported a sweet late 90s haircut and Matrix-style information flowing up her body and into her head like a freshly popped bottle of fizzy. In terms of combat, well, the Warthog was pretty bare bones, its tires consisting of flat textures, and its handling still qualifying it as the most dangerous recreational vehicle ever. It tended to ice skate over environments rather than dig in with those big fake tires. But the basics of the Warthog haven't strayed far since then, and at the time, without a running mechanic, it was pretty much the only way to get around. Halo had some pretty stiff ragdolling physics, but for the time, getting tossed aside by explosions or knocked down by wreckage of vehicles was actually pretty novel on console. Actually, the presence of dead bodies, especially pilots of vehicles, was downright amazing for gamers. Most games just had the bodies dissolve. Hell, a lot of modern games still just have the bodies dissolve. Oh yeah, and there was this whole impressionist thing you could do. 3 years later, Halo 2 rolled around in 2004, and with it came the Mark VI suit, which looked about as crappy as the Mark V suit, but thankfully brought with it regenerating health. Bungie spent their 3 years between releases getting used to the old Xbox, and added a few new features. Okay, mainly a 2 in the title and 2 guns. Wow. The 2 guns brought along with it a change in the HUD, as the shield bar was pushed down to the radar map, but there was still no graphic indicating that Master Chief was wearing a heads-up display. One of the bigger upgrades in the series was the vast reduction of loading times and obvious save points, but this was done at the expense of occasional texture pop-in. Jumps were higher and floatier, fall damage taken away, and on the downside, still no running. Good God. On the Cortana front, her hair waved a lot, like a whole lot. Her purple bits got more selective, and she got some lip implants, probably from the purple bits that went missing. Her information flow also started keeping to said purple bits. Combat in Halo 2 looked pretty much like Halo, minus the assault rifle, plus dual wielding, and minus continual blood splatter emanating from dead bodies.
Hey, anytime you want more, mate, you know where I am.
Oh man, there's more of them!
Oh man. By Halo 3, the series had landed on the considerably more powerful Xbox 360, allowing Bungie to use higher count polygon models, more real-time shadows and lighting, specular map reflections in water, and things like depth of field within cutscenes, motion blur, better normal and bump mapping, a draw distance of 10 to 14 miles, elastic character models, and bullet ricochets. Amazing what happens when you get new consoles, Microsoft. Master Chief, who besides being in a state of rigor mortis at the start of 3, was revealed to be a skeleton, as can be clearly seen here. Although from a distance, I swear he also looks like Leisure Suit Larry. The first and most obvious difference was again the Xbox 360 pushing a lot more detail. Chief's armor had significantly improved battle damage due to better bump mapping, unlike Sergeant Stereotype's ear here. Oof, what happened to that? His visor went from a dirty amber to a solid shiny leafy gold look and clearly had an inlaid display where the character's HUD exists. Consequently, when playing, the outline of said HUD was actually visible to players. One of the nicer touches was also a blue honeycomb damage indicator, letting players know visibly when their shield was taking a shellacking. In terms of enemy forces, we saw helmets flying off, larger vehicle battles taking place in arenas, and weapons like sniper rifles sporting functioning scopes even when they weren't being used. Explosions on the Xbox 360 had better particle effects, and of course, that oh-so-satisfying ragdoll involved floppy arms and legs. Enemies also learned to climb and seemed to love doing it. Excessively. When Cortana decided to show up in 3, she changed her hair again. At least it waved a little bit more organically, and her god-awful lip injections were gone. Her information bits, on the other hand, moved from her purple bits to her invisible bits. No idea why. Whole lot of changes in where Cortana's information goes. So that brings us right up to Halo 4, out this week. The most striking differences in Halo 4 become apparent when Master Chief and Cortana appear looking all real-time lighted and well animated. Chief's faceplate got a beehive makeover and a simplified faceplate in terms of like where the HUD lines are. Cortana got bootylicious, strategically tatted up, and kinda emo. Both seem to benefit from some HDR lighting, basically richer blacks and higher contrast between their lighter and darker bits. The material between Chief's armor plates changed for 4, now looking like the Crisis suit or snakeskin, take your pick. Also, the Under Armour now appears to have a powered exoskeleton underneath it, which may explain why the floaty jump is back. From a combat perspective, the old damage indicator has had yet another visual overhaul, with both red mesh and yellow highlighting on the shield indicating Chief is taking hits. Likewise, enemy shields pop in a more exaggerated fashion, letting players know when to go in for that old rifle butt. Shabam! Combat in Halo 4 involves a lot more lighty bits when it comes to fighting Prometheans, but their dissolving thing dates way back to fighting Flood in Halo Combat Evolved, so that's not super new. Dual wielding is thankfully absent in 4 unless you're talking about flag stabbing in multiplayer, which is kinda awesome. So overall, the evolution of combat and visuals in Halo has been pretty impressive given that the series took place on only 2 consoles with fixed graphic capabilities. Some things have changed more than others over the years, the Warthog not so much, Master Chief and Cortana steadily, if not inexplicably, and environments a lot. With 343 now firmly at the helm, and Halo 4 weighing in at an Editor's Choice 9.0, it seems like the series will continue to evolve its combat visuals into the next console cycle, whenever that is. Microsoft. So what are the most striking differences you've noticed over the years playing Halo? What do you feel has been good, and what abominations graced your Green Man's universe? Feel free to tell us in the comments below, and as always, thanks for watching.